All right. So let us get straight into 67, lesson 67, H Radio 223 part-timers. My name is Chris, and you can contact me at any one point if you have any questions about your summative that is going to come up or any of the class material that we have been going through at any one point. Today we start with something brand new, which is paid media and collaborating with other media sources. That's in Nash and Cullinan's Next Level Radio, chapter 66.5, 6.5.1, owned media. Today, page 229 to 230. So as you can see, quite another quite short lesson over here. And hopefully I will have the brief for you also as a walkthrough by the end of the week. Okay, for the S1. All right, but let's get into collaborating with other media. What is collaborative media and paid for media? Well, we're trying to really understand just the introduction here of being able to say, okay, well, we are one media source. So let's say on radio, and where we can find a little bit of a relationship between, let's say, online paid media, whether we have owned media of our own that might obviously warrant, or it might draw in some of its own traffic, right? And we can find the amalgamation between the two as well. So obviously in modern radio campaigns, well, we don't only focus on recorded spots anymore that you find online, I'm saying on air, terrestrial radio. Does have obviously its on air promotions, its on air, let's say, advertising, its live reads, its live promos, as well as maybe, let's say, still what might be considered within the traditional realm would be its landing page, where we might have, let's say, promoted our stuff across there, right? But we now obviously look at, more channels for advertisers to be able to have more options that we include in terms of our, let's say, like our rate card and our rate packaging as well, or packaging rates, should I say, when it comes to, let's say, putting campaigns together, putting, let's say, activations together. Also, let's say, just maybe, like I say, advertising bundles, we would like to also be able to now offer that to our clients and say, okay, cool. This is what's great is that you'll also get this type of exposure, not only just on air, but now also the potential reaches of a couple of 100,000, let's say, followers or whatever it may be, or views and such and such and such for, or such on forward, whatever, such and such forth. There we go. Commercial radio stations now have many more channels to offer to advertisers and on which to promote their own campaign and messaging. So let's look at each one of these sections here. Obviously, the website pays space, which is the landing page. The landing page is really important. You might think that, different social mediums are, again, our TikToks, Instagrams, our Facebooks, our Twitters, whatever it is, or X's, right, at this point. Snapchats, even, to some very minimal extent, are ways that we might be focusing, or putting our focus too much on, right? Where the website, where our landing page for our um, our site itself, or our station itself, is is stronger. It's much stronger because people know that they can get all the information that they need there, instead of, let's say, scrolling through or missing this, or maybe only assuming that a certain filtered content will be, obviously it's fit for certain platforms. Like, again, our X is very different from our Instagram. Our Instagram is very different from our TikTok, and so obviously only certain types of content makes the cut for those particular platforms, right? So it is correct in them saying that, listen, here, our website space is the correct space. That's where you need to go. That's where I need to go subscribe to. That's where I need to, let's say, register for a letter or an email that is going to be, it'll send through like all the roundup of whatever is important, with all those links included in that email or whatever it may be, right? Anyway, the website space is super important. It is the hierarchy, it is the patriarch or matriarch of our different social media or online accounts, right? Okay, social media accounts, as we said, right? But social media accounts of their talent. So once again, our influencers, when we say influencers, our own influencers are brand ambassadors that we have on air. They will go and be brand ambassadors in their own right, right? But also as part of the brand, it's always part of the brand, right? SMS and phone data still very important, still very relevant. That we do have these services that are, like every time, let's say you do enter via SMS, which still is an entry mechanism, right? It's a way of collecting data more so than it is on WhatsApp, and so we do use the SMS and the phone lines or whatever it is to go and cultivate and accumulate data from our listeners, right? So that we can obviously use that in a data analysis a bit later. Direct feedback from listeners, right? So we can obviously do surveys, polls, etc. Pre and post listener feedback data. Once again, we can go and have that. We can have that quite organically orchestrated as well, but predominantly something that is a bit more organized, and then we can get that information from them on the ground activation teams. So let's say like I mean we can have people on the streets, below the line marketing that can come into play here. Eventing capabilities, yeah, eventing is right. Capabilities, right? So the way that we can extend our reach or the potential that we can have on people's experiences, right, through our events that we actually organize, and then making sure that we capitalize on all those different aspects of an event to make sure that we go and we boost brand awareness, right? Programmatic buying of the generic component of promotion on their streams, right? So I think that's quite straightforward, right? Stream only capabilities. So once again, we can look at, let's say, our if we want to stream live from Spotify's or Iono's or Apple's or whatever it is, doesn't really matter, right? Or we are streaming live from our website as well, like that. We can also draw data from there. We can also advertise on podcasting capabilities, also another avenue. Once again, and also podcasting capabilities as well for that's where our video production capabilities are, and endorsements with and from the talent that is like at our station itself. Whenever a radio operations team member is designed or designing a promotion or a competition, they must consider all of those methods that we just mentioned over there to be able to know how far we can utilize this idea, and how we can spread it in many different ways, many different, obviously, structures, formats, whatever it may be, and reach the biggest possible potential or, yeah, no, potential for grabbing the most amount of listener interaction or our, like I say, our fan demographic, right? Okay, fan family, right? The types of communication tools and platforms that are available: one, owned media; two, earned media; and three, paid media. Let's look at what each one of these are, and you'll see in just a moment, right, the definition of, but each one of these will coincide with one another. The point of interaction, just to make this just a little bit bigger so you can actually just see that there. Just put that there. Okay, so we go. The point of interaction where owned, earned, and paid media culminate in a comprehensive marketing strategy. So we look at earned media, paid media, and owned media. And just in a moment, I know you're waiting for the explanation for it, and we go and see where they coincide for us to also be able to just really just take advantage of that, really benefit from where these three separate types of quote unquote media spaces um, can coincide. But first, obviously, you need to understand what owned media, paid for media, and earned media actually is, right? Okay. So, owned media is brand driven and unique to each particular brand. So, the radio station's brand can control what is published and shared in the station's voice. So, think about, let's say, like a blog, for example, a website, right? Anything that we have ownership of the material, and we also create that material, right? That material and that content is considered then owned media. We own that, okay? Radio station's brand can control what is published and shared in the station's voice. Its output, along with its shows and content, would be owned media for the station, right? So includes web-based platforms, websites, microsites, blog sites. A radio station's website is their digital home. Like I said, it's a place where everyone will find all the information that is necessary, including dynamic, embedded, obviously links, or embedded components that will show our social media feeds and buried other feeds that we want to, let's say, embed from other sources that might be, let's say, client related. Who knows, right? So like YouTube stuff or whatever it may be, a great place to put it all together in one space and create new, saying create sub pages as needs be. The space, but also there is where you're going to find your top 40s, you're going to find your DJ lineups, you're going to find all the podcasts, you're going to find all the news that is released, including their obviously independent feeds, etc. So once again, own media, big predominant on the landing page of the website. The own media is also social media platforms, like we own that media, right? And mobile and mobile sites and applications that we create for our own station, right? Our own station little app there that will obviously contain a lot of its own subsequent or obviously accumulative media. Wider presence gives the radio station a better chance of people seeing, hearing, and understanding their messages, the station's messages, and the people that work for them, and the clients that obviously buy into it, which then drives the objective of having more people consume and engage the station's content. The bigger, the wherever you are, the more places you are, the more likely it is that people are going to be aware of you, right? So there isn't some kind of preference between different, I say, social media platforms. I've said this before. We're on all of them, from, like I say, from LinkedIn to TikTok to Facebook, obviously Facebook Business, to X to Instagram to YouTube. Like we are there. There is a channel. There's a channel, or there's an account for us everywhere. We do obviously sometimes push one more than the other, okay, but each one does serve its own purpose. All right. With owned media, it's usually the destination we want the listeners to land on. So, in a nutshell, owned media is anything a radio station has direct control of. And if we look at the three C's taken from Making Sense of Owned Media by Mark Bunchek, it's content, it's community, and it's context, right? So what does that mean? Obviously, like these are, like, we obviously want to look at the content that we obviously we produce for these particular spaces, like we mentioned before, the social media pages, as well as obviously the landing page, the community that we're trying to build and obviously trying to service, right? And the context in which we want to share information, right? What contextual relevance does it have there? There is a, so let me just quickly go here, and I'll come to it in just a mo, right? So when I just want to just make sure that here in a second, there's a couple of pop-ups here. All right. So let's quickly, I'm just going to switch here. I'm going to stop the share. I'm going to come back in just a second. And we'll just share to the website. Okay, so you see content. So I just want to go through the three, yeah? The content, the foundations of an own media strategy are your content channels. So the vehicles which allow you to deliver content to audiences directly, unmediated by a third party. In other words, like a hosting provider or whatever it may be, right? Okay. And obviously, again, there's websites, catalogs, newsletters, etc. Right. So the key to successful content channels is that you have to engage content that is relevant and valuable. With community, Well, what do we have to look at? Well, content channels focus on the connection between you and your customer. Community emphasizes the connection that your customers have with each other. So building those conversations within those social networks that we actually create, right? Those virtual communications, those virtual interactions, like that's what we want to start having them bond over, you know? Indirect peer benchmarking is also true, like in terms of forums, right? Okay, well, forums or indirect, just as direct as as forums or indirect through the peer benchmarking, which again we can, if we're looking at peer benchmarking, by creating an essence of how one, let's say one hypothetical user, right? A user within obviously our community is creating a bit of a benchmark in terms of their behavior, their identity, their kind of their composite profile, right? Okay, but also context. All right, the biggest limitation of paid and earned media is having a purely transactional relationship with your fans, followers, and customers, right? But you need some mechanism for turning isolated interactions into connected experiences. So it requires an ability to capture data and turn that data into value for the customer, right? Okay, so combining big and little data, and that here, so in terms of being able to make it contextually relevant to our listeners and our users, should I say our family, right? We can build right certain information or certain posts, certain content that will then make them more loyal. It might reward them in terms of information or experiences or money or whatever it is, right? Okay. All right, I'm going to just do a new share and I'm going to go back to this over here. All right, so that's pretty much what I covered there. Okay. And then at the end there, B2C, business to consumer, right? Businesses are selling production and services directly to consumers with no middle person. And B2B, business to business, businesses are selling products and services to other businesses as well. Okay. And again, those kind of loyalty programs, we're looking at those B2B companies as well. Um, and in which context the B2C companies will form a better strategy for us as well. Yeah. All right. Content, community, and context come together in the owned media strategies of today's most innovative marketers. Some examples that we can have a look at. We're going to have a look at these and a couple more. Uh, Sephora created its own channels for delivering content, its own communities for building connections, and created context for capturing data and creating value. In other words, doing all three of what we just mentioned in the three C's, right? The building blocks of Sephora's loyalty program, its mobile app, its beauty tour community, and its Color IQ service are the building blocks there. And customers can use the Color IQ service to find the best shade of makeup for their skin, access preferences in their profile, see recommended products in the mobile app, and discuss tips and techniques with experts and peers through online community. So they've touched base on everything that is really good and great and what works for interacting with this community, but also making sure that content development, like for example, their shadow makeup is content development there, right? The community is being brought together by, obviously like sharing and discussing those techniques there, right? Okay. Recommended products, right? And according to preferences in profiling allows for that context, right? The context of that person using their profile, recommending those products to B2B or B2C, right? Okay. It checks all the boxes really nicely, right? Vale Resorts say, well, they create an owned media platforms called Epic Mix to engage skiers for its resorts. Epic Mix is a cross between a social network and an adventure game. So RFID technology in the lift tickets track, in the lift tickets track the location of skiers and their friends on the mountain and their times on the various runs. What they do is they earn badges. So it becomes again that kind of like again customized experience, right? Okay. Definitely content creation here with the social networks, right? Being able to create a community with their friends, right? In their times of various runs, they post photos, send messages, compare times through the Epic Mix mobile app. And in large part due to Epic Mix, Vail Resorts grew revenue, profitability, and market share through the recent recession while others fell behind. Why? It's that sense of community, it's that sense of ownership and airmanship, right? That is done there, right? It's a sense of making you feel. Apologies for that. Apologies for that. So my internet connection just decided to just bomb out. Let me just pick up from Vail Resorts again. So again, with Vail Resorts, I was busy saying with Epic Mix, where they call the created owned media platform was Epic Mix for these skiers. The skiers would come together in a community. They would find each other on mountains and passes, and again, like those the different obviously skiing experiences. The technology was developed by RFID technology that would track the skiers then as well. Again, they created a social network where you could individualize the experience with earned badges and trips, right? With recommendations. So again, the client feels very special, or the user feels special. You could post the photos in the community. We gain that sense of camaraderie between, and then also again you could go and customize. We just go again through that B2B2C and that B2B, um, where if you are, I mean, you're obviously part of this community, you're going to 10 to 1 going to want to be more involved in more events and more obviously connections and whatever it may be. And so obviously the revenue then grew, should I say, in this case. All right. Own media strategies are particularly interesting to companies who want to create direct relationships, right? So, for example, like Nike has created Nike Plus, which is a running community, right? Nike is just it's obviously predominantly, I mean, it is a sporting brand, right? Okay, but not for just sports athletes, right? Athletes, professional athletes, but for everyday people who are care who do care about their fitness, whatever it may be, and want a obviously like a premium experience, looking after themselves and their feet and their whatever it is, right? Okay, gym wear, fitness wear, whatever it may be, right? And then obviously we have I mean, we know Nike goes beyond just the fitness wear. It's about a brand. It's about a monopoly. Under Armour is developing an owned media strategy around its recent acquisition of Map My Fitness, which is great to tie in here. Craft Foods has created an entire community around recipes as a social currency. And that's great. That's a nice way of saying it, a social currency. So, like, the more that you understand, or the more that you have, knowledge about these recipes that you interact with, you kind of like plagiarize on, you embellish whatever it is, like it makes you a better, like a more elevated member of this community. Each of this of these own media strategies have characteristics that they have in common. First, that they create value for people beyond the products being sold. So making them feel individual, making them interact, take part, be immersive, that type of thing. Second, they use data not just as a way to target a message, but as a way to create a useful service. And third, they treat people not as a passive consumer, but as an active co creator. All right, let's have a look there. And obviously, as we move along, we will discuss what paid and earned is. But for this one now, I'm just going to go to the page 230, 3, and over here. And so with paid media, again, so this is you will answer activity B, right, which is on page 235. The following figure demonstrates, this is on page 233, demonstrates how paid media in a popular newsletter would work. So in this fictional scenario, oakleaf.com has an industry email newsletter that offers space for paid advertisements. This space is bought by advertising agencies such as Misa, Ultimate. In figure 6.5, an advertising agency called Thumbprint Marketing is paid for advertising in an oakleaf.com newsletter. The newsletter appears in subscribers' inboxes. If the subscriber is interested in the content, they can just click on it, and obviously they can just go see more information on the actual site. Figure 6.6 will provide information about how to advertise in the oakleaf.com newsletter. And the red text is obviously clickable so that you can just go and make sure that you uh, get straight to, requesting, I don't know, let's say like a quote or whatever it is, or getting in contact with their sales team. So if you will go and look at page 234, you'll actually see just a little bit of a snippet, like snapshots of the thumbprint marketing, where you can go and click on that, and obviously it's this affiliated marketing. They just shove it in there, right? Okay, get paid for it as well, depending on obviously how many subscribers that they do have to their email, their mail subscription, or their newsletter, should I say. And then obviously at the end there, we do want to always, it's almost like a bit of a kind of a letterhead signature, right? Making sure that we know that, let's say, to advertise, you can go click on the online form, you can email us, or if you want any more help, you can just email us, or even if you can include a phone number there, that would be it, right? Your activities page 235, right? Okay. So earned media, and paid media. I don't think you can answer that fully just correctly, right? But only there you go. Only answer the owned media section, which says provide short definitions of owned, earned, and paid media in your own words, just to owned media. Match the following media types on column A with column B, and the owned media should either be a listener tweeting that they love the song playing right now on KFM, is it to a sponsored Instagram post promoting a clothing competition that Metro FM is running, or a radio station uploading a video of their breakfast show team competing in a charity challenge on their YouTube channel. Right. Consider the following fictional scenario. DJ Dizzy is a presenter on a radio station and a well-known television personality, DJ and music producer. He is also very active on Twitter or X. Explain under what circumstances DJ Dizzy's tweets could be regarded as paid, earned, or owned media. And at this point in our exercise while learning, you just have to focus on owned. That is the end of the lesson. See you in the next one.